everyone, my name is Ankit Jain. I welcome you all to my channel, Ek Journey with Ankit. In today's session, we will explore how we can debug the LWC component and figure out the bugs in our code. Before this video, I have published another video as well where we discussed in detail how you can do the Apex debugging as well. In case you folks didn't got a chance to check out that video, do check out that as well. Now in this session, we will see what all different configurations that we should be doing on our org, on our browser, so that our debugging journey will be very easy. Again, all those steps that I'll be discussing, it is not mandatory, but I am suggesting those steps based on my experience as well, which will make the debugging life very easy whenever you are debugging the LWC component. Why this is very important? Because JavaScript, it's a case sensitive language. So even though you are declaring the same variable in two different cases, many times you will get an error. And in such scenarios, debugging is one of the most favorite option to figure it out why we are getting this kind of an issue. So in today's session, we will deep dive into it with multiple examples. So let's get started. In case you folks like to connect with me, you can definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can connect with me on the LinkedIn as well. And you can also join the Telegram channel where we discuss the frequently occurred issues in your Salesforce journey. So what is the first step that you should be doing in your org? Again, as I said, all these steps are not mandatory. That is first. And all the steps that I am recommending, you should not do those steps in the production. Make sure that you are doing those steps in your developer sandboxes, or in case you are learning, do it on the developer org. But I will not recommend to do these steps on the production. First step that you have to do here is you have to enable the debug mode in the LWC. Why we do that? Because enabling the debug mode make it easier to debug the JavaScript code. And for that, you should be enabling the debug code only for those users who are actively debugging the JavaScript. The reason being, if you are enabling the debug mode in the LWC, it will lower down the performance of the user. So make sure that only for those users who will be doing the actively debugging of the LWC component, for those users only enable the debug mode. How to do that? Let me help you to understand this. For that, you have to navigate to the setup menu, and here you have to look for the debug mode. If you type the debug under the LWC component, you will get the option of debug mode. In my org, I have already enabled by myself. So in case in your org also it is already enabled, you will see this kind of a taskbar. In case not, you can select the user for whom you have to go and enable the debugging, and then select that user and click on the enable button. Once you do that, the debug mode will be enabled for you. And here you will get the two logs, which will help you to also understand the performance of your components as well. That is the first step that you should be doing on your org. What is the second step that you should be doing? Disable the cache during the development, because most of the times if we are not doing it, we have to refresh our org multiple times so that the cache memory, the cache changes should not be replicated. So what we can do here is we can disable the cache in the sandboxes of the developer edition org to see the effect of our code changes effectively without every time emptying the cache. And how you can do that? You can do that by again from the Salesforce org. You can also do that from the browser as well. I will show you both the ways, and I'll recommend go for both the options. Next point here is disabling the secure and the persistent browser caching has a significant negative performance impact. And that's the reason you should always enable this setting in the production. But again, you can keep it disabled on your sandboxes or the developers. Again, if you are actively debugging in your sandboxes. So how to do that? So to do that, again, you have to navigate here. You have to look for the session setting. And here, if you go and search for the disable, let me look for the cache. Yes. Here you can see this is the option that we do have under the caching. Enable caching and autocomplete on the login page. You can go ahead and disable that caching here. Okay, so that is the next step that you can do from the session setting where you can go and disable the cache. Make sure that you are saving your changes. Another option, you can also disable the cache for the browser as well. To disable the cache from the browser, do the right click, select the inspect. Here you can see we do have the network tab here. Navigate to the network tab, and here you will get the option of disable the cache. Again, if I'm switching to the network tab, here you can go and check this checkbox so that the cache will be disabled from your browser as well. So two places where we have disabled the cache, one is from the session settings, another one is from the browser. I also prefer to use the another extension, that is the clear cache extension, to clear the cache very frequently. So again, if you navigate to the Google and look for the clear cache extension, it's a free extension available on the web. You can go ahead and download that extension. Let me do it one more time, clear cache extension, and you can go ahead and install that extension on your org. Again, to clear the cache, once you install this, it will be available on your browser. And to clear the cache, you have to simply click on this clear cache button, and the cache will be cleared from your browser. So these are the different options which are available, using which you can clear the cache of your browser and also from the Salesforce org as well. Third thing that we will be doing here is we will turn off the Lightning Web Security. Again, strictly do this only on the developer or on the sandbox. Don't do it on the production. So, as a temporary workaround to work with the breakpoints, what we will do, we will turn off the Lightning Web Security from our org. How to do that? Again, if you navigate here, again under the session settings only, if you navigate to the session settings, and what you have to look for here is Lightning Web Security, and go ahead and disable it. So here again, I am doing the Control F, looking for the Lightning Web Security. Here you can see that under the Lightning Web Security, please go ahead and disable it for your better debugging experience. So if you go ahead and do that, you will see the console statements, or the when you hover over your code, right, you will see the actual values. So for that reason, I'll recommend go ahead and disable the Lightning Web Security. The next setting that you should be doing here is performing an empty cache or the hard reset. Again, once you have done that, once you have disabled the Lightning Web Security, you have to make sure that you are either clearing the cache by doing the hard reset, or you can also use the clear cache extension that just now we discussed. Again, how to perform an hard refresh. Let me quickly show you. To perform an hard refresh, you have to make sure that you are doing the right click and opening the inspect window. And after that, if you click on this browser, do the right click, here you will see the option of hard reload. So what you have to do here is you have to hard reload. You can also take this option empty cache and hard reload. If you have disabled the Lightning Web Security, make sure that immediately you are following these steps. All these steps that I am discussing, these are all one-time steps. Once you have done that, every time you don't have to do those steps. The next thing that we will be doing here is, now these are the few settings that we will be doing on the browser. Again, you can do these settings on the Chrome browser or also on the Edge browser as well. I have not checked this on the Firefox, so I'm not sure, but on these two browsers, definitely you can go ahead and do that. I will recommend, if possible, always stick to the Chrome browser, because that's what also Salesforce recommend for your debugging as well as for your Salesforce journey as well. So what we have to do here is, for the better debugging experience, we have to enable the custom formatter. How you can enable the custom formatter? Again, be on your browser, do the right click, click on the inspect. And once you have done that, you can navigate, you can click on the setting icon. Here you can see, you can click on the setting icon. And once you have done that, under the preferences, if you scroll down, under the preferences, you will see the console. And under the console, you will have the option of custom formatter. So you have to make sure that you are enabling this custom formatter. You are enabling this custom formatter. So check this checkbox of the custom formatter. Okay, this is the next step that you have to do. Another step that you have to do here is you have to add the few files under the ignore list. Why we are doing that? Because there are some framework related files that will be available for the debugging, and whenever we are troubleshooting the exceptions, sometimes we get the unwanted exceptions from this framework file. So what we will do here is we will add this pattern so that our those framework files should not be available for our debugging. So how to do that? I will put this pattern into the video description. You guys can refer it from there as well. Uh, Again, to add that formatter, you have to come back to the ignore list, and under the ignore list, you will have the option of custom exclusion rule. Here you can go and add those patterns. I have already added those patterns. So one after the other, you can add both these patterns here so that the framework code that are available will be ignored. How you can find your source code in the source panel now? So you have done all those settings. You have done the settings at the Salesforce level. You have done the settings at the browser level. All the settings that we have discussed till this stage, all these are one-time settings. Okay, you do not have to do this every time. If you have done it once, those settings will be saved in your org or on your browser as well. Okay, now we will see how you can do the debugging of the component. And for that, what you have to do, you have to find your code in the source panel. And how you can do that? There are two ways to do it. I will show you both the ways, one after the other. For example, this is my page, and on my page, I do have the two web components here. Okay, now I have to go ahead and debug, let's say, both these components. So first thing that I need to do here is I need to find my code. And to do that, I will do again the right click, open the inspect, and here I will navigate to the sources panel. I will navigate to the sources panel. If you guys have followed all the steps that I have shown you, under the modules slash C, you will see both the components which are available on your org, or whatever the lightning web components which are available on your page, you will see that. So you have to navigate to the lightning slash page module slash C, and here you will see the both the components which are available in your org. Now whatever the components that you have to debug, you can do the right click on, you can go ahead and open that component and perform the debugging of that component. Okay, assume that I have to go ahead and debug this component, which is referred as the debug demo output not loading. I know the name of my component here is wire function demo, and here you can see whatever the JavaScript code that I have written on that component, it is available here. Okay, moreover, if you see the HTML code for this, you can simply hover over that component, something like this, and here you can see the HTML code for that component as well. Okay, another good part, for example, many of the developers do use this kind of a mode to apply the some stylings to the component and all those stuff. For example, let's say I have to go and increase the font size of this. I can also do that from here. Here you can see I am under here, and this is where I have to go and increase the font size. So under the elements dot style, I can go and add the styling. Okay, these are all hacks that you can use to make your troubleshooting easy. Here you can see currently the font size is 20 pixel. I want to increase the font size to 50 pixel. Rather than I go do the code changes, deploy it again, I can directly do it from here and figure it out how my code will look if I go and change the font size to 50 pixel. Here you can see immediately the changes are replicated. But again, let's shift our focus back to the JavaScript debugging only. We will talk about this kind of hacks somewhere down the line. But for the time being, we will keep focused on the coding part or the JavaScript debugging part. So again, coming back here, so here you can see all your JavaScript code. Few of the code you will see which is generated by the framework as well, but we should be focused only on the methods that we have prepared. For example, this is the wire decorator that I have written. This is the account function. This is the again the wire decorator that I am handling. There are few lifecycle hooks method which are available in case you are not familiar with the lifecycle hooks. I talked in very detail in my LWC bootcamp about all those hooks. Do check that out as well. Okay. So this is how you can go and access the source code. This is the one way of doing it, where you can navigate to the folders and you can open the particular file. Another way here is you can directly open the file by taking the option of Control P from here. Okay. So what you can do here is type the Control P and whatever the name of the component that you want to open. For example, I want to open the name of the component here as wire function demo. I will go here and search for that component and open that file. Again, it will open the same thing, but as I said, different developers prefer the different approaches to open that file. So this is also one of the approach that you can use to access the file, either by navigation or by directly hitting the Control P button. Now, how you can perform the debugging in the Chrome or in any other browser? To do that, the browsers do offers the dev tools. With the help of those dev tools, you can easily perform the debugging. So first thing that you will do, you will go ahead and open that file. Once you open the file, the code will be available for you. And after that, on the right hand side, you will see the panel where you do have all the debugging options which are available. For example, if I have opened my code here, right? And here you can see I do have all the debugging options which are available with me. Again, based on the position of the dog, it might vary, but let me go ahead and expand this so that you guys will see exactly the same what I have showed you in the image. On the right hand side, I do have the different tools which are available for the debugging. So at whatever the line I want to stop my control, we can go ahead and put our breakpoint on that particular line. We can go ahead, for example, I want my control should be stopped here. I can go ahead and put my control on that line itself. Okay, so that whenever that particular line will be executed, for example, I want the control should be stopped here at line number 98, I will add the breakpoint here so that whenever this part will execute, my control will be immediately stopped. Let me quickly show you. For example, here if I am typing A, here you can see immediately the control is stopped here and I am into the debugging window now. Now here you can go ahead and navigate to the next line. You can go ahead and scroll to the next, you can scroll to the next function, come out from the function, right? Or you can directly switch to the next breakpoint as well. So these are the different options which are available to you, with the help of which you can do the debugging very effectively. Now, there's another way of setting the breakpoint that is referred as the programmatically. Also, you can set up the breakpoints as well. How you can do that? Whenever you have to set up the breakpoint programmatically, you have to use the debugger keyword. So what will happen? Whenever the debugger keyword is executing and your dev tools are opening, the control will stop immediately at the debugger keyword. Most of the times it is not possible. For example, if you are doing the debugging into the QA sandboxes or into the UAT sandboxes, there where you cannot go and modify the code, so you cannot add the debugger keyword. But in case you are doing the debugging on your developer org or on your developer sandboxes, then you can definitely go and add that debugger keyword here. For example, let's say I want my control should be immediately stopped on that line. So let me quickly go here. At the same line, I want my control should be immediately stopped. So I will go here and put the debugger keyword. Only one keyword that I can put so that I do not have to go and manually add the breakpoint here. Now here, if I go and deploy my code, let me quickly show you. For the time being, I have removed the breakpoint from here and I'm clearing it. Okay, now we have added the debugger keyword. We have deployed our code. Let me go ahead and refresh the page so that we can see the things in action now. Okay, my page is loaded. Now, if I go and type something, for example, if I am typing here A and we have added the debugger, here you can see without adding the breakpoint, my control is immediately stopped here because I have put the debugger keyword. So again, both the options are available. You can manually go and add the breakpoint, or you can also use the programmatic approach as well. I personally prefer to go and add the breakpoint from here because here I do have the flexibility to add the multiple breakpoints at a time. There also you can do it, but you have to think in advance where all you want the control should be stopped. Okay, so that's the advantage that you will get over the dynamic breakpoint from the programmatic breakpoint. Now we will see the few things in demo as well. I have prepared the two demo slides for you so that you guys will get a better understanding what should be your thought process whenever you are debugging your code. Okay, so let's go and do the demo now. So the first demo here is my LWC component is supposed to create an account after validating the user inputs. Okay, however, when I click the create account button, nothing happens. Could you please assist me in debugging the component and resolving the issue? So I do have one component where the debugging is failing when the user, where the DML operation is failing when the user clicked on this play button or this create account button. So for example, here, if I am typing all my inputs and test at the rate test.com, if I go ahead and click on the create account, nothing is happening. So we are supposed to go and debug this and figure it out what is going wrong. So how we will go and do this debugging now? So I am doing the right click, opening the inspect. I know my component name here is, so I am navigating to the sources. I am expanding this module folder. Whatever we discussed till now, I am simply following it and I'm opening this component imperative Apex demo. Now on the click of this button, create account button, which method we are calling. Let me go and try to read the code parallelly so that I can understand where I can go and put my breakpoint. So on the click of the create account button, I am calling the code here, that is the click handler method. So I am looking for the click handler in my browser so that I can go ahead and put my breakpoint and then I can take the control line after the line. Here you can see that I do have my click handler function available here. So I am putting my breakpoint on this click handler line. Okay. Now it looks good to me. Another thing that I observed here is if you navigate to the JavaScript file, this click handler, it's an asynchronous function. Where is that click handler? It's an asynchronous function. So it will again execute in the separate thread. So what I am doing here is I'm adding one more point. Once it goes to the asynchronous operation, I'm adding one more breakpoint at line number 119 here as well. Okay, rest of the things looks good. Then we can take the control and do the debugging one after the other. Let's go and try to do the debugging now. So I am clicking on the create account button. As soon as I click on the create account button, my control is immediately stopped at line number 115. Again, at line number 115, nothing is happening. I can go ahead and use my debugging tools to perform the debugging. So again, to move to the next line, you can always press the F10 button. So I am doing the same thing. I am pressing the F10 button. Now here you can see I am inside this input valid part where I can go and do my debugging. So here now in this here I'm calling one method, that is the validate method. I'm not sure whether the validate method is failing or not, so I want to go inside that method. Now either you go and press the F11 to go inside that method, or you can also go and add the breakpoint under the validate method as well. It's up to you how you want to do it. Let me do both the approaches. I have put the breakpoint here and also I am moving inside that function. So now as I am inside that function, now here you can see I am under the validate method. Now I can move my code line after the line. So for example, if I had to fast forward it, let's say I am putting my breakpoint here, hitting the play button. Again, my browser is itself is telling me that it is failing because I have not used the valid in the correct form. So here you can see I am defining one variable with the name of valid, and that valid variable, it is in the lowercase. Where is that? Mm, Let me quickly show you. Okay. I cannot see that variable right now here, or the valid variable itself is not available. So one of the possibility here is I have to go and check for this valid. If I go and hover over it, here you can see I'm getting an error, valid is not defined. Now again, if I navigate to my code, navigate to this validate function, for example, here you can see I do have the valid keyword defined, but the case is different. My valid here, it is in the lower case, and here I am using kind of a Pascal case, right? So what I am doing here is I'm making my changes and putting the V in the lower case. Okay. And that's how I can do the debugging of this error. Again, another one quick hack that I would like to share with you folks here is most of the time this hack do work. What you guys can do here is, let me go ahead and hit the play button for now. Okay, and let me go and expand this. What you can do here is under the breakpoint, also you can go ahead and check this checkbox, pause on uncaught exception. So in case any exception is occurred, you will be immediately notified about this error. For example, let's say I'm not putting any breakpoint for now. So there are no breakpoints available in my code. So I'm taking out all the breakpoints from here and I'm only checking the pause on caught exception. Now here, if I go and click on the create account, here you can see that immediately I'll be notifying with the error valid is not defined because my control is stopped here at the exception. So if you have this checkbox checked, pause on uncaught exception, you will see that error message as well, valid is not defined, and then you will get an idea why this is happening. At least at the higher level, if you hover over it, it will give you the few more details about that error as well. For example, under which method it is failing, why this error is happening, you will find all those details here. So these are the few hacks that you can use to do the effective debugging. I hope you folks got most of the idea about the debugging, but let me take one more example and then we will close the session. So another example here is my LWC component is supposed to load a list of accounts based on the account name entered by the user. Again, here I have already verified the Apex code, whether it is functioning correctly or not. So it is functioning fine, but could you please help me to debug the LWC component and fix the issue? So this time, we are talking about another component. I believe I have deployed this. Let me go ahead and do this. Okay. Now here for another component, I do have an issue that whatever the names that I am entering, right, uh, it is not showing me the final output. For example, here if I type the United, press enter or do nothing, it is not loading me the output. So how I can go and perform the troubleshooting for this? Again, to do that, we will start from the scratch. Again, if you go and try to understand the code, what I am doing here is I am using the wire decorator. Navigating to the JavaScript file, I am using the wire decorator to load the account records based on the entered value. Okay, so this is the part where I have to go and debug why it is not returning me the output. So again, if I come here, do the right click, navigate to the inspect, and I'm opening my component, clicking on console, sorry, clicking on sources, navigating to my file. This time I am more interested in the wire function file. Again, if I scroll down, okay, and here I am putting my control on line number 82. Let's see what kind of output that we are getting here. If I go and type the U, okay, we have already put the debugger, so I'm hitting the play button, and now here you can see that if I type the U, I am getting around 140 records. Again, if you want to see what all records that you are getting, you can always hover over it and see those records as well. That's how powerful the debugging is. You can go ahead and check the value of all the records that you are getting. So that means we can say that my Apex is working fine and I'm getting all those 140 records here. Now again, if I move to the next line by putting the F10 button, so this is also working fine. Again, here you can see the error. The error here is my function, it is not returning in the correct case. If I hover over it, uh, okay, it is not showing, it is not displaying that error message, but I know that this method is not correct. Okay, to the uppercase method is not correct. So what I will do here is I will navigate back to my code, and here I am correcting this method and then deploying it. So this is how, folks, you will go and do the troubleshooting of the error messages by taking the control in the browser, do the debugging by moving line by line and figuring it out at what exact line it is breaking. I hope you folks found this session helpful and got few learnings from this session. If yes, do let me know your thoughts in the comment section as well. Thank you. Have a good time.